Down doing some examinations, and many of them are so busy that they haven't been able to break away from that really to give us any kind of a briefing. Firefighters have been here as well, keeping an eye on the situation with evacuating the passengers, which is going to happen eventually, but they don't seem to be in a tremendous hurry to do that. Visually, from being out here, I can tell you that aside from seeing the wheels of those cars off of the track just slightly, just by a matter of inches, there really don't seem to be a lot of external cracks in the ground or any other kind of damage to the earth or the infrastructure beneath the tracks that would be a dead giveaway as to what might have happened or the impact of the quake in this area. All you can really tell is by looking at the cars of how they're slanted as they go back. You can tell that they're tipping slightly because their wheels are no longer evenly on the track, and that's why as you go further down the train, you can see that they're leaning to the side quite a bit.
Yeah, Jay, real quick, I understand when this train first jumped the tracks that it took some time before word got back that the train had even left the tracks because you're in an extremely remote area. In fact, I heard a ham radio operator was the one who first reported this. Give us a flavor of exactly how remote this area is. I mean, what are you close to, if anything?
Well, you can't get farther into the desert than this, I think. We are about 45 minutes to the east of Barstow, about 10 minutes west of the Hector mine in Ludlow. And basically we are north of where they were saying the epicenter was. To the south quite a ways is Joshua Tree, 29 Palms Marine Proving Base. And so there really is nothing out here. If you, as a matter of fact, if you miss this Hector exit to get off here, you have to go miles before you see anything else or any other road to get off. We did pull over at one point to talk to a CHP officer. He was beneath an overpass and was remarking to me that the overpass had shifted quite a bit. That was going over Interstate 40, and that is the interstate that takes you east from Barstow. And so they're checking overpasses. There's a lot of activity out in this usually a very remote, desolate area. But this morning, everyone's checking the safety of the highway, and there are a lot of emergency vehicles out here dealing with this situation at the railroad track.
Yeah, and one of those situations that if you have to have the 7.0 earthquake, that was a good place to have one, with the exception of the fact that there was an Amtrak train going through there at the time this morning. It is 7 o'clock, 7:01 now, and we want to give you just the latest if you were just joining us this morning, just waking up to this news that there was a 7.0 earthquake centered near Joshua Tree about 2:46 this morning, and since that time we have had several aftershocks. We're going to switch over now from KCBS to KTLA, another one of our affiliates. You're seeing live pictures here once again from the train station, and we're going to go directly to the first interview
right now, and we're checking continuously around the dikes, and they're holding fine.
And what about in terms of other tanks that might be cracked and you may not know that yet? Is that a possibility?
Well, we have been checking all the other tanks, and as you can see, it's starting to get daylight, and we've got a better view of the entire area. But we did a thorough check of all of our refinery tanks within the refinery as well as here at the marine terminal.
Now, do you live in the area? Did you feel the quake yourself?
Yes, I felt the...
Okay, I want to clarify that. We are not at the train station. We are actually at the L.A. Harbor, the Los Angeles Harbor, where a tank containing a petroleum product ruptured and spilled about 2,000 gallons of the substance into a dike surrounding the tank there at the harbor. Let's now go to the interview.
50 miles away from the area, so it is certainly having its effects. Reporting live from San Pedro, Patricia Del Rio, KTLA News.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. And Kurt, let's go back to the train that is derailed near the town of Ludlow, between Ludlow and Barstow, around Interstate 40.
Ron and I would like to remind you, you are watching KTLA TV Los Angeles, and this is live, continuous coverage of our breaking news story. The big story this morning is...
We're going to turn now. We have a live interview with Wayne Eder from the fire department in 29 Palms. Wayne, are you with us?
I'm with you. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope it is a good morning. I understand things are pretty calm right now.
It's been a long morning, but it's getting a lot better. The sun's finally coming up, and we'll be able to get a look at and see what really happened to us this morning at 2:46 this morning.
Well, let me ask you, did it wake you up?
Well, I wish I could say I went to bed last night, but we ran about 20 emergencies yesterday, and we were still up when the earthquake hit this morning.
Oh, my gosh, so it's been
So
nonstop.
it's been nonstop for the last 30 hours for us. My whole shift has been up, and we haven't been to bed yet.
Now, tell me, as you all are surviving no sleep right now, what are you doing? Are you sort of on standby? What's the position now for all of you?
Well, we've finished our initial damage assessment this morning. We responded to the majority of emergencies. We had multiple emergencies back-to-back our department handled. We've been staffing 3 engine companies, a ladder truck, and then 3 of my chief officers and I have been responding to emergencies all night long. Kind of an ironic thing is today is a very festive day in 29 Palms. It's the history of one of our historical days. It's Pioneer Days. And for the last 20 years, we've been doing a annual firefighter pancake breakfast. So right now my crew is cooking pancakes for the community to kind of show our community support for this historical event. And we chose to do it this morning even after the earthquake, so that way the people could come in and kind of find out some information about what happened at the earthquake last night, and hopefully reassure them and let them get the information straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And we've been trying to calm down our local residents, and we have about 200 people so far showed up this morning to have breakfast with us.
What a nice touch. That's terrific. Well, let me ask you, the emergencies that you did respond to, what type of emergencies were they?
We ran on 4 natural gas leaks, one of which turned to be a major gas leak, where we had to shut off all the natural gas to one of our major mobile home parks. Our local Stater Brothers Market took some severe structural damage and had a water break. Most of their stock has wound up on the floor, and there was some flooding of that. We had several other water breaks that we worked on with the 29 Palms Water District to make sure that we did not interrupt any of the water supply for our community should we have a fire. We had a tree into a house with victims trapped that we responded to and helped a couple people out of the house, and had the usual chest pain type calls of people that were, woken up suddenly at 2:46 and felt like they were getting chest pains or heart attacks, and we went out and administered oxygen and got them calmed down, but none of them were transported. Happy to report that we have no injuries or deaths, due to the earthquake, just a lot of shaken up people and then some damage in town.
And some pretty good pancakes.
And some great pancakes this morning.
Out of curiosity, the gas leaks, are they related to the earthquake?
Yes, they were. All of them were. Like I said, 3 of them were not that big a deal for us, but we did have the one major where it was a 3-inch gas main.
Did I understand you're the chief?
I'm the fire chief at 29 Palms.
The fire chief. Well, you lead a very good crew there, and I hope you enjoy spending time with the community. I'm sure they're relying on your support right now.
And we're here for them. And thank you very much for showing interest in our community out here in the desert. It's nice to know that we're thought about.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Miles.
As we continue our coverage of the Hector earthquake, magnitude 7, now more than 4 hours out, we turn now to Ludlow, California, where perhaps the most visible proof that there was an earthquake lies, an Amtrak train off the tracks. Let's turn now to reporter Jay Avila, along with Dustin Davis, who is with the rescue crew there.
Lounge, sleeper cars, and coach cars, basically food and passengers. And in the rear of the train is Mail and Express.
Now, the Mail and Express cars, are they the ones that we see that are tilting the most?
The box cars, yeah.
What was it like for the passengers on board from what you've been able to gather?
I haven't spoken with any of the passengers on board.
Can you tell us basically what was it like for those on board in terms of, or the conductor, was he able to bring it to a stop relatively quickly? I would imagine that you're going a high rate of speed and all of a sudden you're wobbling because of the earthquake.
Well, the engineer would have brought it to a stop, yes. He didn't have any trouble with that.
How long does that take?
Well, depending on the speed, I don't have the speed tape, so I don't know the speed. It can take anywhere from a half a mile to a mile to stop. But when you're on the ground, you're going to slow down and stop much quicker.
How close do you think we were from what you've seen to a real disaster?
I think we did rather well.
In this instance, it would seem that the wheels merely dropped off. Well, to me, it looked like a few inches from the rails, and nothing really came close to actually tipping over.
No, nothing came close to tipping over.
And this happened exactly when the 7.0 hit this morning, as far as you know, by shortly before 3?
Yes, the 7.0 earthquake is the cause of this derailment.
What are you looking for as you're here looking at the track?
Well, I'm with the maintenance department, so I'm going to assess the damage to the cars.
And so far, what does it look like?
A lot of wheel sets need to be changed out. And other than that, I haven't given a close enough inspection.
Have you heard what's going to happen with the passengers?
Passengers are going to be bused. The first buses should start arriving around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and they'll be bused to their destinations.
And they're going to go to Los Angeles, then they're not going to be put up at Barstow or something temporarily.
They're actually going to be bused to wherever it is they were destined to go. They'll either go to Los Angeles or anywhere south of Los Angeles or north on either the Santa Barbara line or the San Diego line.
If you could, give me a sense for how are trains equipped for things like this? You know, we're used to buildings and houses being equipped with different earthquake-proof construction and whatnot. Is there anything you can really do to passenger trains that can help you in situations like this?
These cars are constructed to a rigid FRA standard. They are built to withstand a tremendous amount of pressure.
So it would seem that as close to the epicenter as we are, that they held up pretty well in terms of how they were designed to take an earthquake.
They did their job quite well.
All right. Well, Dustin Davis with Amtrak, I appreciate you being with us. Thanks very much for your time, and we'll check in with you later.
Thank you.
So that is the latest from near Ludlow is where we are, where this Amtrak, it's called the Southwest Chief. About 155 passengers were on board this morning. And as I had mentioned before, only 4 people were transported to hospitals with what seemed to be relatively minor injuries. One individual was complaining of shoulder pain, another had back pain. 2 other individuals were said to be having difficulty breathing and were having some sort of anxiety attack, so they were also transported to the hospital. Other passengers, I haven't had a chance to talk to many of them here at the train, but many of the passengers were standing in the doorway. They seem relatively calm and recovered from this experience. Now, Danny, you may want to pan a little bit over here so they can see what the front of this Amtrak passenger train looks like. As you can see, take a look at its wheels, for example. You can see how the wheels ride right on top of the rail, obviously. A little bit further down, it's a little bit far, so I wanted to show you here. Those wheels have dropped down on the inside of the track, and obviously on the other side, the wheels have dropped down on the outside of the track facing away from us. And they were, at no point did any of the cars tip over. They leaned quite extensively, and they're still tilted at a kind of a treacherous angle. But obviously, they feel that the train is stable enough to where they've kept all the passengers on board. As I mentioned, many of them were lounging in the doorway, walking up and down the tracks, taking snapshots. The 1 or 2 passengers who I had an opportunity to speak with said it was a very frightening experience this morning because of the wobbly side-to-side motion that the earthquake caused the train to go into as it was speeding along the tracks here. But they were about 45 minutes outside of Barstow and headed down to Los Angeles as the ultimate destination. This train left from Chicago, we're told. But as for right now, everything seems to be under control. They're just trying to really evaluate what condition the train is behind me.
And Jay, as you're standing there talking to us, we're going back and forth between your ground picture and also an aerial picture that shows what appears to be the train tracks that have actually shifted off to the side right underneath that train there. So we are getting a pretty good idea of exactly what happened out there. And as much as we can imagine what those people must have felt at about 2:46 this morning as they're riding along that train.
Yeah, Jay, I'm real curious because you're sort of in the area that was, if we can say it, hardest hit. It's tough in the desert to find out exactly what kind of damage. But as you were riding out there, what did you see? I mean, we saw Caltrans crews in Los Angeles kind of going all over all the overpasses to check to see if any of the overpasses have been compromised. But what did you see on the way to this train derailment?
Well, we're right alongside Interstate 40, which runs east and west outside of Barstow. We took that interstate to get here. As we drove along, it was still dark. It hadn't gotten light yet, and we weren't able to see if there were any cracks in the road, perhaps, or in the overpasses. At one point, just as it was as day was breaking, we stopped and talked to a CHP officer who was with some Caltrans officials inspecting an overpass not far from here. And they were saying that the overpass had shifted considerably, although looking at it, I certainly couldn't see any cracks. There was nothing indicating to me damage. But that was on National Trails Highway, is I believe what it's called, the back way down to 29 Palms and Joshua Tree, not far from here, a little bit to the east. And so obviously they're concerned about many of these desert overpasses closer to the epicenter where there was quite a lot of violent shaking. I live in the Inland Empire, and where I was, you know, we had that strong rolling back and forth, and it lasted for quite a while. I could just imagine what it was like out here in the desert. We talked to a few people working in the scattered convenience stores along the interstate on the way out here, and they had said that a lot of the things on the shelves were shaking back and forth, and that the shaking was quite violent out here this morning. And you can just imagine what it would have been like for the passengers who are also traveling at a high rate of speed on the tracks when that hit them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, go ahead.
They're going to have one story to tell after this night out there in the desert. Now, give us an idea, once again, you're as close to the epicenter of the original quake as anybody is. Tell us again kind of what that area is like out there. It's pretty sparse, isn't it?
Yes, it definitely is. You can drive for miles without seeing much of anything, but we were able to see the train here because the train tracks run pretty much parallel to Interstate 40. As we mentioned, we are about 45 minutes outside of Barstow, and if you keep going on Interstate 40, eventually you get to Needles. And out in this area, they did feel it quite a bit because the epicenter, as we understand it, what they believe the epicenter is just about midway between here and then the Joshua Tree area to the south, and which is, for the most part, uninhabited. You've also got that 29 Palms training base out there as well, and there aren't a lot of businesses, let's say, and large residential areas out this way. But we have heard of a little bit of damage out on the Marine base, things like that, but none that we could see on our way out here.
Jay, stand by for a second. We'll take your picture again of the train derailment as we run down the latest for folks who may just be joining us. When you hear about it...
We've been listening to reporter Jay Avila of our affiliate KCBS in Los Angeles, giving us an update from on the ground in Ludlow, California, where perhaps the most visible signs that there was a serious earthquake about 4.5 hours ago in the Southern California region lie. That is where the derailed Amtrak train is. It is the Southwest Chief. It was headed Chicago to Los Angeles, passing near the epicenter of Joshua Tree, as you can see clearly in the middle of the desert, when that earthquake hit, 2:46 a.m. local time. 20 or so of the cars left the tracks. All of them remained upright. Only a few minor injuries. One woman taken to the hospital, apparently with a dislocated shoulder. But beyond that, no injuries, no serious injuries, certainly, to report in the wake of this serious earthquake. The fact that its epicenter occurred exactly where you see it, in the middle of the desert, has a lot to do with that. One of the conductors on board that Amtrak train was Glenn Morton. He spoke to us not too long ago.
We felt these severe shakes. I mean, just really hard shakes. And I thought initially, I didn't think in terms of an earthquake. I just thought we were having a derailment, a bad track or something like that. And it just continued on there. And finally, we got the train stopped, and we went through the train to make sure everybody was okay.
Conductor Glenn Morton aboard that Amtrak train. You're looking at another picture shot not too long ago as dawn breaks over the area of Ludlow in the high desert, 100 miles east of Los Angeles. And by the way, these are live pictures courtesy of KTTV television. We will continue our coverage of the Hector earthquake as well as Hurricane Irene and all the other news for you in just a moment. Stay with us for more.
Aren't there enough reasons in your life to talk to your doctor about Zocor? To learn more about Zocor, ask your doctor. Zocor, be there.
This is life. But don't let it interfere with your driving. Monsoon audio systems in the Volkswagen Passat drive drenched in sound.
Here's to my best friend Frank and his lovely new bride, Shirley Stupid.
Quiznos oven-baked classics. If you want your sub toasted, you gotta go to Quiznos.
Well, it's time to bring a little fun to life.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm your new roommate.
Best Buy. Nice TV.
Welcome back to our breaking news coverage. I'm Kira Phillips in the CNN Center in Atlanta. The first big story we've been following for you, of course, is Hector earthquake in Southern California. 7.0 earthquake centered in the Southern California desert. Shook buildings, no serious injuries reported, only one minor injury, which came from a train derailment, an Amtrak train derailment. Everybody has been taken off that train. Here's our live pictures to show you that things are pretty calm. All the passengers will be getting onto Greyhound buses heading back into Los Angeles. Once again, only one minor injury. It's been reported a woman passenger had a dislocated shoulder. She was taken to the hospital. And we'll continue to follow this story. Our other big story for the day, of course, has been Hurricane Irene. We've been covering that. And we are going to go to Susan Candiotti, who's live in Oakland Park, to get the latest on that other story we've been following. Susan?
Hello, Kira. Hurricane Irene caused a lot of headaches and a lot of heartache. We'll tell you about that heartache in just a moment. But first, we want to show you a little bit of an area of Fort Lauderdale called Oakland Park, where we were knee-deep in water overnight, but a lot of the water, as you can tell, has largely receded by now. And as we make our way over to one of the residents here, I'm going to give you an overview of the storm. It dumped 16 inches of rain in South Florida, causing flooding in some low-lying areas, although others were unaffected. 700,000 customers of Florida Power and Light lost power, and crews are working hard to restore that throughout Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. The storm also caused a freighter to run aground off the beach in Hallandale, Florida. Joining us now is Ellie Davis. You live here in Oakland Park. Tell us about what happened last night with the water.
Well, we got about 8 inches of water in the house, 6 inches in our Florida room, and we totally were like an island. The bridge, we live in a cul-de-sac, which is linked by a bridge. The bridge was covered, the lawn was covered, the yard was covered, the street was covered. There was just nothing anywhere but water.
There's a creek back there and a canal.
It's a canal. It's tidal water, so we get a high tide every 6 hours, which means that at 3 o'clock this morning we were really worried because we already had this water in the house, and there was nothing we can do. So this morning we're vacuuming up, and I've already vacuumed up 144 gallons of water out of my house.
What does this do to your insurance? Do you have flood insurance?
We have flood insurance in Florida. You have to have flood insurance. You need wind insurance. You need homeowners insurance. And we don't know. We really just getting the water out of the house now. We don't know how much damage we lost. We know that some of the doors and stuff like that, a lot of them are all water damage. We're hoping not to even have to do anything, but until we get cleaned up, we really don't know.
Ellie, we empathize with you and certainly wish you the best as you continue your cleanup.
Thank you very much.
All right. We also wanted to tell you about that heartache that we indicated talked about earlier, and that involved the electrocution of 5 people in Broward County, Florida. In one incident, 4 people were killed, 3 youngsters who were going for a walk in the dark overnight. They were in knee-deep water, police say. They did not see some downed power lines, and they were electrocuted. When a mother went in to try to rescue them, she was also killed. So both heartache and headaches here following Hurricane Irene. Susan Candiotti, CNN, reporting live in Oakland Park, Florida.
Okay, Susan, thank you. And most of the lower half of Florida has been declared a disaster area by President Clinton. So funds are being distributed to a 28-county area that has been hit by Hurricane Irene. We go to Orland Sydney now in the CNN Weather Center. She's also been following the hurricane.
Well, it's been very busy, Kira, and it continues to be. We have some corrections from the National Weather Service office. The center of Hurricane Irene is 35 miles to the the east-southeast of Melbourne, Florida, instead of 75 miles. So you can see the center is very, very close to the Florida coast. The storm is also moving to the north at 10 miles an hour and not the north-northeast. This makes the storm, I guess you could say, an official threat to the Carolinas. We have tropical storm warnings now in effect from north of Jupiter Inlet, Florida to Edisto Beach, South Carolina. A hurricane watch is in effect from north of Edisto Beach to Cape Hatteras, and that includes Pamlico Sound. And a tropical storm watch remains in effect for Bimini and Grand Bahama Island. So just a whole lot of mess going on down here with readings generally about 75-mile-an-hour sustained winds in the center of the storm, and definitely strong tropical storm force wind gusts here across the coast. As we go on through the afternoon, high wind watches are in effect inland of the beach. That includes the Orlando area. Flash flood watches are in effect for parts of the southeastern coast of Georgia and southward to Jacksonville. So those areas could definitely see some flooding rains today, up to 5 inches and more expected between now and tomorrow morning. And as the storm moves along the coast, it's going to look even worse for folks in South and North Carolina. It looks like the center of the storm at the current track makes a path right across North Myrtle Beach and then continues up towards Wilmington, dropping heavy rain all the way. Of course, that's the region that was flooded first from Hurricane Dennis and then from Hurricane Floyd. There may be some good news in that a cold front is expected to move off the coast. Very strong front. You can see temperatures are going to be as low as 20 degrees cooler on Sunday than Saturday. So this is a strong front moving its way off the coast. That should pick up the storm and then accelerate it off to the northeast as we go on into Sunday late and Monday early. Kira?
Orland, thank you. Stay tuned to CNN for more breaking news coverage. We'll be back right after this.
It's you against him, against her, and who knows who else, all going for the same job. So what's going to set you apart? Kforce.com. For the first time, the power of the internet is backed by 2,300 Kforce recruiting specialists to help you break through. He's the one. Kforce.com. Opportunity has a new address.
I knew I was in for the fight of my life, but I was ready.
When my husband and his friends start exchanging fish stories, it's the phone bill that can turn into a whopper.
I fought this monster for hours. First I had the upper hand, then he took control.
That's why we always dial 10-10-321. With 10-10-321, calls over 10 minutes are just 8 cents a minute, day or night. And at 8 cents a minute, he can tell all the stories he wants.
I'll tell you, it was like a whale.
Yeah?
You should have seen this.
Well, let me tell you about my trip.
Dial 10-10-321 and talk as long as you want, whenever you want.
Problem?
The doctor says my cholesterol's still too high.
What about diet and exercise?
They didn't do enough.
So?
He suggested adding Lipitor.
Lipitor, the #1 prescribed medication for lowering cholesterol. In clinical studies, Lipitor with diet was proven to lower bad cholesterol 39 to 60%, total cholesterol 29 to 45%, triglycerides 19 to 37%.
He said over 4 million people have started taking Lipitor to lower their cholesterol.
Lipitor is not for everyone, including people with liver disease or possible liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant.
There'll be blood tests to check for liver problems.
Tell your doctor about muscle pain or weakness, as these may be signs of serious side effects.
You take Lipitor once a day.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist for more information on Lipitor and call 1-888-LIPITOR.
Well?
Lipitor did it. My cholesterol's way down.
Lipitor, the lower numbers you're looking for.
When was the last time you felt the power of a mountain, the romance of a train, or the unexpected warmth of a stranger's smile? When was the last time you spotted orcas at play, or remembered how to spell Aurora Borealis? And when was the last time you felt so inspired by the simple act of looking out your window? Holland America, it's time.
Continuing our coverage of the strong Hector earthquake, now 4 hours and 45 minutes ago, dawn has broken over Southern California, revealing the extent of damage. And the focus of a lot of attention has been Ludlow, California, where an Amtrak train, the Southwest Chief, traveling along with 155 passengers on board, a crew of 16, derailed at just about the time of the earthquake, 2:46 a.m. local time, happened to be passing near the epicenter. National Transportation Safety Board investigators are en route to that scene to try to determine if an earthquake warning system operated properly for the conductors of that train. Joining us on the line with more information on that is the chief spokesperson for Amtrak, Clifford Black, joining us from Washington, D.C. Mr. Black, good to have you with us.
Yes, Miles. Good to be here.
Bring us up to date on this, what you know to date as far as the numbers of people involved, numbers of injuries.
Well, your report was accurate. We show 155 passengers and 16 crew members on board the train at the time of the derailment and earthquake. Two of our passengers received minor injuries and were taken to Barstow Hospital for treatment. I'm told that right about now, buses from Los Angeles are picking up passengers from the derailed train to take them to their destinations. One of the things that I found most interesting and positive, certainly, was the fact that we were able to serve breakfast to our customers on the derailed dining car. We did not lose electric power as a result of the derailment.
We spoke to one passenger who happened to be on that derailed dining car as she was receiving breakfast, and she offered kudos to your crew. So take that for what it is, sir. Let me tell you, let me ask you this. The NTSB will be looking into an earthquake warning system along those tracks there. I'm not familiar with what warning there can be for an earthquake for a train operator or for anyone. Tell us about that.
I'm not aware of what systems they have there. I do know that the railroad, first of all, understand that the railroad track and dispatching and signal system is all owned by the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad Company, so Amtrak is a tenant on their tracks. But it's my understanding that the dispatching center does have a seismograph in that area, so that if there is an earthquake, they're able to know about it immediately. I think even if you do have a sensing device, that the way it would work, presumably, is that if there is seismic activity, signals are dropped to the red position until tracks can be inspected. But if you've got an earthquake occurring at an unknown time and causing an instant derailment, there's really nothing you can do about it.
Mr. Black, you've been with Amtrak for quite some time. Can you recall many serious derailments in the wake of earthquakes? Has this been a problem over the years?
No, it hasn't. Actually, we've certainly had disruptions as a result of earthquakes. There has been track damage. There have been delays, significant delays, but I can't recall where a rolling train, a moving Amtrak train anyway, has been derailed by an earthquake as the train was moving. So this is a first.
I presume you and the rest of the Amtrak management are breathing a sigh of relief.
We are. We're extremely grateful that this derailment, which did occur at 65 miles per hour, we are told, and it derailed 21 of the 24 cars on the train, that it did not, the result was not worse. We essentially had no injuries, and we even, as we mentioned earlier, even maintained hotel power on board the train. In other words, lights, heat, air conditioning, everything was fine. So yes, we are very grateful.
Clifford Black, the chief spokesperson for Amtrak, joining us from Washington. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more in just a moment.
Join authors Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Bill Moyers, Dominic Dunn, and Senator John McCain tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Mongolian Grill. Try our new location at 251st and Powell.
Next time you're thinking of buying a new or used car on the internet, click this. AutomallUSA.com.
tonight with Fred and Vince, 11 Eastern on CNN.
Welcome back to the CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Kira Phillips. Of course, we're following the breaking news on Hector earthquake. We're going to go now to some pictures of the train derailment near Barstow. As you can see here, daybreak has hit, and everybody has been taken off the train, all the passengers. They are on Greyhound buses headed back into Los Angeles. They were coming from Chicago. The derailment took place near the town of Ludlow. That's just a few miles north of the epicenter, Joshua Tree. That's about 110 miles east of Los Angeles. Once again, there were no major injuries, one minor injury. A woman whom we talked with, she was on the dining car, and she had a dislocated shoulder and was taken directly to the hospital. I'm now going to go back to you. Miles?
Our other big story this morning is Hurricane Irene. On the other side of the country, let's go to Florida immediately. Governor Jeb Bush offering a news conference in the wake of damage caused by that hurricane.
Lines are taken care of and the flooding subsides. Right now there are 675,000 homes without power in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and surrounding counties. There are 425,000 homes that had lost their power but now have had it restored. Many roads are impassable. Residents, as I said, are urged to stay off the roads. In fact, that is the one message that I want to leave with everybody, is for people just to have patience. The water will subside, and people can go back to more or less regular life, but they ought to wait. They ought to take their time and let the flooding subside. As I said, the team is working. Both state and local officials, as well as the utility companies, are working fast to restore power and to bring back a degree of normalcy to the area. But this was a serious storm, and for the folks in North Florida, they need to be prepared. There's going to be maybe not hurricane force winds. Annie will talk about that a bit, but certainly along the coastal areas, there is reason to be cautious and to stay off the beaches. There's going to be a lot of wind and certainly a lot of rain. With that, I will pass it on to Joe.
The Emergency Operations Center, of course, is still at a level 4 operation, and obviously we're moving in resources to meet the areas of emphasis that the governor just emphasized. In our emergency services, we have over 500 law enforcement ready to assist those local government law enforcement officers. They've been doing that already, but also we see that some of them will be getting tired and they may have to provide some relief to some of these communities. Of course, beefing up our fire and rescue efforts. We know that there were some cases last night where we knew that we had to go in there where we got some high water, where maybe want to make sure that we can supplement any type of the local resources that are needed. I think the mass care is going to be very important as people, when they don't have power, obviously they may not have the abilities for food and water. And our emergency services people will be working to get comfort stations in there to ensure that we get some mobile feeding units into that area as quickly as possible. But I think the whole key is the infrastructure. With the power outages, you'll start getting other types of problems. We're beginning to see them lift stations and things like that. So getting the power restored is very important. Our law enforcement is going to be work closely with the power companies on road closures and making sure that we can get people in there. At the same time, we'll be getting our damage teams. We've got impact teams that are in there now, but our damage teams that will go in and look at more detail, the number of homes and so forth, those people are being staged now. And, of course, we'll be monitoring those events that could happen today as the storm goes further north.
Good morning, everybody. Hurricane Irene is located right now about 75 miles east-southeast of Melbourne, Florida, or about right off the coast of Indian River County. It's moving north at 10 miles per hour, and it's still very much a hurricane, packing winds of 75 miles an hour. At the graphic you see up here, we have flood watch in effect really from Broward County all the way up to Nassau County, and tropical storm warning from Jupiter Inlet all the way up to Fernandina Beach, and actually going up further than that. There's a wind advisory in effect for inland counties of Polk, Highlands, Lake, Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and Okeechobee. Now, as the storm moves to the north at 10 miles an hour, we're still going to see an awful lot of onshore flow, really from Brevard County north. In fact, in Brevard County right now, we're seeing winds approaching tropical storm force strength with wind gusts approaching hurricane strength. So the possibility of seeing coastal flooding in addition to inland flooding is certainly could become a reality. The graphic here on the bottom shows the storm total rainfall since Irene started to affect the southeast portion of Florida. And the area you see in yellow here are areas where we have received in excess of 10 inches of precipitation. In fact, where you see the red splotches in through there is close to 15, 16 inches of rain, with some areas realizing close to 20 inches of rainfall. So the hardest hit counties are Dade County, Broward County, and Palm Beach, and we're certainly going to see when the rain finally stops, it's still coming down, exactly how much rainfall we received in Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River and Brevard. Thanks.
Question. Folks who are without electric power in South Florida, how long might they expect to be without electricity?
Well, we know that probably overall there's been about 1 million homes without power, and I think we're about 600-some thousand now. So they've already restored about 400,000, and the power companies are working just as fast as they can. I think the key is as the weather clears, the companies had their resources ready to go immediately. It's a matter of getting in there with the access to the roads.
We've been listening to a news conference live from Tallahassee, Florida. Governor Jeb Bush, along with members of his emergency staff, briefing folks on the situation subsequent to Hurricane Irene. Hurricane Irene still very much active off the coast of Melbourne now and still kicking up a lot of wind and rain. The bottom line in this one, about 600 to 650,000 people in southeast Florida still without power. 5 killed in the wake of that storm. We, of course, will keep you updated on that. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Ever wonder if anyone knows how you feel? They do.
One of life's most joyful moments can also be one of its most painful. But take comfort in Tylenol, the pain reliever doctors and hospitals choose most. Come meet your little brother. Hello. Tylenol, take comfort in our strength. Fight osteoporosis with Citracal, the calcium supplement clinically proven to help stop bone loss. Do what's right for your bones. Take Citracal.
They think the market's going to go up 20% next year. What are they
Tickets, folks.
I'm out. I keep reading about tax-efficient investing. Should I be doing that? Everybody else is.
Let's see. Rates are falling, inflation's low, more stocks or more bonds.
Hey. Oh, man. This investment strategies for you. Great. Just for me. And 5 million other people.
Thank you, Weber.
Welcome back to the CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Kira Phillips. We're continuing to follow the breaking news that's going on in Southern California. The Hector earthquake, rather, and we're going to go to pictures of the recent situation with the train derailment. We're going to go to live pictures. All right, we're not going to go to the pictures of the train derailment. We're going to join Jim Murray, who's at our L.A. bureau there in Los Angeles. Jim, all right, Jim, you're with us. You grew up Hello. You grew up in Southern California. You've been through this quite a bit. Give us a little feel for the personal aspect of this.
Well, having lived through the Northridge earthquake back in '94, even though I was about 20 miles from the epicenter, my home sustained a great deal of structural damage. Television sets fell over, a chest fell over. There was a great deal to be concerned about. Our chimney fell down, as did all of the chimneys in our area. That earthquake in 1994 was registered at a 6.7. There were some 57 deaths, $20 billion in damage. Fast forward to this morning at about 2:46, a 7.0 earthquake, epicenter approximately 100 miles from Los Angeles. And the stunning aspect of this earthquake, the potential for damage was clearly there, with this being a greater magnitude than the Northridge earthquake. But what we've been seeing, aside from the train derailment, which we've been reporting on all morning, where there were virtually no major injuries, however, some 22 cars were derailed from the tracks. All of them still had electrical power. All were still upright. There's been virtually no major damage reported and no significant injuries reported. We talked, as did you, about in the last hour to the fire chief from 29 Palms, Wayne Etter. That area is about 30 miles from the epicenter. That's the closest populated area aside from Joshua Tree, which is another small community near the epicenter. And they reported some major damage to a Stater Brothers grocery store, including a water line break, a tree into a house with some people trapped, 4 natural gas line breaks, one of them major, and some power outages. 4 people also reported some chest pains, but even there, they reported no major injuries. We checked with Palm Springs, which is about 50 miles away from the epicenter, and the fire department told CNN there are no reports of injuries, no reports of significant damage. And as I said, that's about 50 miles from the epicenter. Airport police at Los Angeles report business as usual at LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, as they do at Ontario Airport. There was one incident in LA Harbor. A tank containing naphtha, which is a petroleum product, ruptured and spilled some 2,000 gallons into a dike at the Los Angeles Harbor. The LA City Fire Department indicates that they sprayed foam on that area and had that situation contained. Even with daylight, approaching 5 hours after the earthquake struck, again, emphasizing it is a 7.0, which is significant in potential damage and potential impact, and yet we've seen virtually no major damage and no major injuries reported. Kira?
Jim, are you surprised by the lack of damage?
Surprised, but you also have to take into mind that the epicenter was in a very sparsely populated area in the desert, approximately 100 miles from Los Angeles, from the most densely populated areas. That clearly had a great deal to do with the lack of damage and injuries that we've been seeing. We've also been hearing reports of aftershocks, which are expected, by the way. The greatest reported as a 5.8. Also a fairly decent-sized earthquake in magnitude, but again, no damage reported as a result of that. It's really a factor of a number of things. It's a factor of where it struck and also when it struck. It struck in the middle of the night, so even if it were in a densely populated area, there would be fewer cars on the street. However, we've seen in recent weeks the earthquakes around the world, and some of them have occurred in the middle of the night, and you've seen devastating results. So clearly, this is the best potential scenario for a magnitude 0.7 earthquake.
Jim Murray from our bureau in Los Angeles, thank you very much. Miles?
The National Transportation Safety Board on its way to the Ludlow, California area. That part of the high desert was where the Southwest Chief, an Amtrak train carrying 155 passengers, 16 crew members, was traveling at approximately 65 miles an hour at 2:46 a.m. local time. Not far away was the epicenter of the Hector earthquake in Joshua Tree. That forced that Amtrak train off the tracks, cracked the whip style. Some 20 cars of that train left the tracks. Amazingly, they were all upright off to the side of the tracks, and only minor injuries reported. 2 were taken to the hospital with very minor injuries. We have spoken, and our affiliates have spoken to several of the passengers who were on board that train.
Bang, bang, bang. I had my hands against the wall to hold them myself. Terrible. I thought we were going to go over. I was sound asleep. And the next thing I know, I was banging from one wall to the other. I'm in that room over there. And I had my hands against the wall, trying to hold me together. There's no way in the sun. I didn't know whatever happened.
All dining crew, please report to the dining car, please. All dining crew report to the dining car.
Then I found out it was an earthquake.
You might have heard in the background, all diners to the dining car. As it turns out, the Amtrak crew was able to serve breakfast in the dining car subsequent to that derailment. We spoke with one passenger live as she was being served coffee and breakfast. She indicated that while everybody was certainly shaken up, her hands were shaking, everybody was otherwise fine, and the crew was taking pretty good care of them. The National Transportation Safety Board will be focusing in particular on a system designed to warn engineers of seismic activity. The question is, did that warning system work? And if it did the engineers have time to make a speedy stop? Were they able to slow the train down? That will all be the focus of the NTSB investigation. Obviously, the cause of why that train left the tracks is not in question. We also heard from one of the conductors on board that train, Glenn Martin.
Initially, I think one of them said that they felt that the engine was bottoming out. They felt a low spot on the track, and then all of a sudden it started shaking real severe right and left. And it's at that time when they felt it was an earthquake, and that's when we had an emergency application of the train where it locks up all the brakes on the train.
Some harrowing moments in the high desert, but fortunately no serious injuries to report, and that is the bottom line on the Hector earthquake. A magnitude 7 earthquake, but because of the location of its epicenter, we have no serious injuries, or for that matter, very serious damage to report to you this morning. Another big story of a natural disaster of variety is working this morning. That is Hurricane Irene. We just heard from the governor of Florida that at least 600,000 people remain without power in Florida. We'll have more on that when CNN continues.
Show her you'll love her for the next 1,000 years. A diamond is forever. De Beers.
Years before America's electric cooperatives forged the nationwide alliance, Touchstone Energy, neighbors built their own electric utility to power lives and communities. Now Touchstone Energy cooperatives serve millions of homes and businesses. Customers large and small get state-of-the-art technology and affordable service. From the one-room schoolhouse to the communities and businesses of tomorrow, trust Touchstone Energy, the power of human connections. We are America's electric cooperatives.
I knew I was in for the fight of my life, but I was ready.
When my husband and his friends start exchanging fish stories, it's the phone bill that can turn into a whopper.
I fought this monster for hours. First I had the upper hand, then he took control.
That's why we always dial 10-10-321. With 10-10-321, calls over 10 minutes are just 8 cents a minute, day or night. And at 8 cents a minute, he can tell all the stories he wants.
I'll tell you, it was like a whale.
Yeah?
You should have seen this.
Well, let me tell you about my trip.
Dial 10-10-321 and talk as long as you want, whenever you want.
Welcome back to CNN's breaking news coverage. I'm Kira Phillips in Atlanta. We've been covering two big stories for you today, the Hector earthquake and Hurricane Irene. We're going to touch in now with Susan Candiotti, who's in Oakland Park, for the latest on the effects from Hurricane Irene. Susan?
Hello, Kira. Important lessons to be learned following every hurricane. And one of the lessons from this one is that even a Category 1 hurricane can cause havoc, such as flooding in low-lying areas, including this neighborhood, but also that hurricanes can cause death, even a Category 1 hurricane. We can tell you about 5 people killed in Broward County, killed by downed power lines. In one incident, 3 boys, police say, were walking overnight, Friday night, down their street after the storm had largely passed. They were walking in water that was about a foot deep. They did not see some downed power lines that were still live. They were killed instantly. When a mother went to try to rescue them, she was also electrocuted. Now, just a little while ago, Florida Governor Jeb Bush held a news conference in Tallahassee. He said that flooding remains a major problem in some areas of Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, which received up to 20 inches of rain.
Until the flooding subsides, we are urging people to stay off the streets. These sad tragedies can be avoided if people have patience and stay in their homes until such time as the electric lines are taken care of and the flooding subsides. Right now there are 670.
At its height, Irene caused about 1 million homes and businesses to lose power. Florida Governor Jeb Bush says that at this hour, 600,000 customers remain without power, and that crews are spreading out throughout the state to try to restore that power, as well as damage teams. Clearly, they plan to make application for federal assistance. And in addition to the flooded homes, we also have learned that there has also been major damage to farms in Dade County. Crop loss estimates go up to as high as $76 million. Susan Candiotti, CNN reporting live in Oakland Park, Florida.
Thank you, Susan. We also heard recently from Governor Jeb Bush, who is telling everyone to have patience, let the flooding subside, and that damage teams are coming in, and so is funding. We now go to Orland Sydney in the CNN Weather Center. She's also been following Hurricane Irene.
Irene still continues to be a pretty strong storm, Kira. As a matter of fact, the winds are up from the last advisory. The 11 a.m. advisory just came in, and we're currently waiting right now for the forecast track to come in, and that would be the very latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. It seems, though, that it's pretty certain that part of the Carolina coast is definitely going to be in the eye of this system, at least maybe the eyesight of the system. This is the very latest now, 80-mile-an-hour winds. That's up 5 miles per hour from the last report, moving to the north at 8 miles an hour. The storm is now 40 miles to the east-southeast of Cape Canaveral, Florida, and it's going to continue this northward motion, at least it's expected to, through the next 24 hours. Here's what you're seeing on the radar now. Some very heavy rains, especially along the coast between Melbourne and Jacksonville, up towards Palm Coast and continuing towards St. Augustine. Some very gusty winds moving in as some of those inner rain bands from the storm start to work inland. You're still seeing some of the rain bands across Grand Bahama and Great Abaco Island, also in the Bahamas. Some rain showers are just offshore of Miami, but of course the heaviest rains continue to the north. You're also starting to see some of this activity in places like Charleston, maybe some showers creeping up on you in Savannah before it's all over. Flash flood watch now is in effect for Brunswick down to Jacksonville and also includes the Vero Beach area. High wind watches are in effect inland from the storm system. That includes the Orlando area, and even up to the north there's a wind watch in effect for Fayetteville and Fayetteville area across parts of the Carolinas. Up to 5 inches of rain can be expected here over the next few hours. That's going from this evening all the way into tomorrow morning. The good news is there's a cold front that's making its way across the plain states. This is expected to pick up the storm, move it more to the north rapidly. I think once it passes Cape Hatteras and into the Chesapeake Bay, then it's going to start a turn and accelerate off to the northeast. Again, the very latest track is probably already in now as I speak, and I'll be showing that to you as we head through the late morning and into the afternoon. Kira?
Orland, thank you very much. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Sunday on CNN's Late Edition, the last word in Sunday Talk, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. Sunday, noon Eastern on CNN.
There's something new for business travelers at Sandman Hotels and Inns. It's called Star Plus.
Star Plus is a value-added corporate program supported by every member of our service team. We're dedicated to making your out-of-town business travel go smoother and easier. With more than 20 locations throughout Western Canada, Sandman is the right place at the right price.
Just call 1-800-SANDMAN and see how our Star Plus team means business for you.
In-depth coverage of the NFL, on and off the field. The NFL is on ESPN.
Sponsored locally by Gold's Gym with 14 locations in the Portland area. When it's time to join a gym, join a real gym, Gold's Gym.
The Moneyline News Hour. Weeknights 6:30 Eastern. You are what you know.
An update of the day's top stories. In California, the derailment of an Amtrak passenger train appears to be the worst consequence of an early morning earthquake. The magnitude 7 tremor was centered 130 miles east of Los Angeles in the Mojave Desert. It struck just before 3 a.m. Pacific time. Some 90,000 utility customers have lost power, but only a few minor injuries are reported. Along the East Coast, Hurricane Irene is headed for the Carolinas after dumping as much as 18 inches of rain in Florida. 5 deaths from downed power lines have been blamed on the storm. Warnings are in effect from Edisto Beach, South Carolina to Surf City, North Carolina. The storm is packing 80-mile-an-hour winds. It's heading north at about 8 miles an hour and was last located 500 miles southwest of Wilmington, North Carolina. Many parts of that state are still trying to recover from the disastrous flooding in the aftermath of Hurricane Floyd. Today's earthquake in Southern California caused several power transformer explosions, and downed power lines sparked fires near Palm Springs. CNN's Eric Hong has the latest.
The powerful earthquake was centered in the desert, but had a broad reach, shaking people out of bed from Los Angeles to Las Vegas.
At first it was kind of slow, for the first, 10, 15 seconds, and after that it started shaking pretty good. It was a pretty good one. Pretty good one.
No major injuries are reported, but the quake did knock out electricity to tens of thousands of residents in Southern California. At this grocery store in L.A., cans were knocked from shelves, littering the aisles. 125 miles away in the Mojave Desert, near Ludlow, California, the quake derailed an Amtrak passenger train traveling from Chicago to Los Angeles. Amtrak says all of the cars remained upright, and none of the 155 passengers on board was seriously injured.
To the IC. Bang, bang, bang. I had my hands against the wall to hold them myself. Terrible. I thought we were going to go over.
And we felt these severe shakes. I mean, just really hard shakes. And I thought initially, I didn't think in terms of an earthquake. I just thought we were having a derailment, a bad track or something like that.
Multiple aftershocks have already been reported, and officials say more could be on the way.
We would expect to have a lot of aftershocks to this earthquake. A magnitude 7 is a big earthquake. We would expect that in the next week we would have about 4 earthquakes of magnitude 5 or greater if this behaves like an average aftershock sequence.
But for now, many people in Southern California are breathing a sigh of relief that the epicenter of this powerful earthquake wasn't centered in a densely populated area. Eric Hong, CNN.
In Los Angeles, CNN's Jim Moret is standing by. Jim, you are no stranger to earthquakes. How would you characterize this one?
Well, as you know, I was about 130 miles from the epicenter of this earthquake. It felt relatively minor, and I say minor comparing it to the northwards earthquake and also to the Landers earthquake. It felt like a rolling motion, frankly. I jumped out of bed instinctively, ran to my 2-year-old's bedroom, grabbed him, brought him back into bed, and then, frankly, went back to sleep. And it felt very different. The Northridge earthquake caused a great deal of structural damage throughout the city, caused some $20 billion worth of damage and some 57 lives. This quake, quite the opposite. Aside from that train derailment, which was mentioned just moments ago, where there were some 155 passengers, 16 crew members, 22 cars derailed. 2 were treated, taken by ambulance for minor injuries. In addition, there was a bridge on Interstate 40, that near Ludlow, close to the epicenter, that was closed down for a time. The California Department of Transportation officials have determined no structural damage. The bridge is safe, but they are installing some structural reinforcement. On the subject of aftershocks, that is a known entity. Seismologists tell us that we can expect aftershocks for some time following a major earthquake, and there have already been 15 aftershocks above 4.0, 2 above 5.0. Also, some people remain without power. Some 80,000 customers were affected for a time. Southern California Edison tells us some 8,000 to 9,000 customers remain without power at this hour. But overall, Gene, no major structural damage reported throughout Southern California, and significantly, no major injuries.
Thank you, Jim. Here to talk about Amtrak Mojave Desert derailment today is Amtrak's Director of Public Affairs, Cliff Black. He joins us from our bureau in Washington. Mr. Black, first of all, since a tremor hits without warning, does a train crew have any kind of good options once it begins?
Normally they don't. They don't have any warning, but it's my understanding that the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, which is the railroad company that owns the tracks here, have in their dispatching center a seismographic device that indicates whether or not an earthquake has happened. It appears by the timing of this one that the Amtrak train was derailed simultaneous with the with the earthquakes hitting.
Is a derailment unavoidable in that kind of situation?
Not necessarily. I've been at Amtrak 18 years, and we've certainly experienced a large number of earthquakes in California over that period of time. This is the first time that I recall that an Amtrak train was actually derailed by one, so it's very unusual.
And how were the people injured on that train, if you know?
Bumps and bruises are my understanding, as one of our customers that you saw on the earlier tape indicated they were bouncing around a bit. A couple of bumps and bruises, treated and released. We're very fortunate. In fact, Amtrak was able to serve breakfast on the derailed dining car. We kept our electric power despite the derailment.
And the disposition of the passengers?
Right as we speak, they're being loaded on buses, charter buses that Amtrak provided, and they're being taken to their destination. Most of them were headed for Los Angeles, some of them for Fullerton, Victorville, a couple of other locations, most of them Los Angeles.
And how long before that area is cleaned up and your cars are all on the tracks again?
As you can see by the photo we're looking at on the screen, crews are in place to re-rail the train. Once we get all of the customers off the train, then we'll start re-railing. It's going to be several hours.
Well, Mr. Black, thank you very much, and it was fortunate indeed that only 4 persons suffered minor injuries. Thanks again for being with us. We'll be back in just a moment with Hurricane Irene. Stay with us.
With Flight Options fractional jet ownership, you'll save 35% over other programs, which means you can go out to dinner more often. To save 35%, call Flight Options at 1-888-676-4JET. Thanks to Flight Options, you've discovered the perfect way to fly, save money, and boost morale at the home office. Call Flight Options at 1-888-676-4JET and save 35% on fractional jet ownership.
We can get your business anywhere with the technology you already have. CompuWare. People and software for e-commerce.
What do you think about the new CEO?
Well, sir, he's a good man. The job he did over at Incorporated was really, really good. With emerging, yeah, remember? And that spin-off thing.
When you're not informed, it shows. Hoover's Online. Know thy stuff.
In southern Florida, Hurricane Irene has left tens of thousands of people without power. More on that from CNN's Susan Candiotti. She is in Oakland Park near Fort Lauderdale. Susan?
Good afternoon. Damage assessment teams are fanning out throughout Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County to figure out how much financial help will be needed to help clean up this area. But residents of this particular community aren't waiting around for outside help. They've already begun their cleanup, in some cases to remove up to 8 inches of water from their homes. In Hurricane Irene in all, South Florida was pounded with anywhere from 17 to 20 inches of rain and hurricane-force winds of up to 75 miles per hour. 6 deaths are now being blamed on the storm. The latest, someone lost their life when they drove their car into a canal. 5 more people lost their lives when they were electrocuted by downed power lines. 600,000 customers remain in the dark, and Florida Power and Light estimates that it may take several days to turn that power back on. Meantime, authorities are issuing warnings to those who care to venture out to watch where they are going. It could be dangerous. Susan Candiotti, CNN reporting live in Oakland Park, Florida.
More on Irene from Orland Sydney at the Weather Center. Orland?
Gene, thanks a lot. It's important to remember in a relatively weak storm as we have with Hurricane Irene, sometimes the power does stay on. So if you venture out, you could run into down power lines. This is a real danger, as you have seen. And the winds are only at about 80 miles an hour, that offshore. We're getting some gusts onshore in about the 50-mile-an-hour range. Last hour, Cape Canaveral reported a northeast wind at 35 miles an hour sustained. The wind gusts 53 miles an hour. So that's tropical storm force. Can definitely down a power line, and that power line could be live. So do take it easy and just stay inside if you can. That's the best thing. Here's where we're looking at our latest coordinates. The storm is located 40 miles east-southeast of Cape Canaveral, Florida, with winds of 80 miles an hour, moving to the north at 8 miles an hour. To give you an idea of what other people are experiencing along the coast, Daytona Beach reporting winds of 37 miles an hour sustained, gusts to 51. Fort Pierce, gusts of 37, and in Jacksonville, gusts to 26. There was some concern earlier that the center of the storm, at least by one of our producers, was sort of concerned the center of the storm might edge toward the northern Florida coast, but remember that it's heading pretty much north now, so we're not too much concerned about Jacksonville, Savannah. I'm more concerned about Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and Wilmington as we go into the next 36 hours. Kind of a slow movement here as we take our track and start it on the next 72 hours. Then a pretty close pass, and it looks like it's going to come inland around Myrtle Beach. Then it accelerates off of Cape Hatteras and moves to the northeast. Again, highly preliminary, as tracks always are, and there's a potential of some deviance either side of the track, so something certainly to keep your eye on. Remember that we've had some very heavy rain amounts, and the rain continues today. The National Hurricane Center advisory is calling for 4 to 6 more inches of rain. We could see up to 8 more inches of rain, according to some of the local Weather Service offices. Boynton Beach here at 17, almost 17 and a half inches, down to Everglades along US 27 at 10.38 inches. There was a report yesterday from the National Weather Service that part of US 1 was underwater. 5 inches of rain or more could be seen as it heads up the coast throughout the weekend. CNN Saturday continues after this.
When planning your next vacation, call the expert, your AAA travel agent. We'll send you on a cruise of uncompromising indulgence aboard Holland America Line, where right now 7-day cruises start at this great low price. AAA also offers members exclusive extras on many Holland America Line cruises. For details, call 1-800-374-1106.
Travel with someone you trust.
AAA Travel Services.
I knew I was in for the fight of my life, but I was ready.
When my husband and his friends start exchanging fish stories, it's the phone bill that can turn into a whopper.
I fought this monster for hours. First I had the upper hand, then he took control.
That's why we always dial 10-10-321. With 10-10-321, calls every 10 minutes are just 8 cents a minute, day or night. And at 8 cents a minute, he can tell all the stories he wants.
I'll tell you, it was like a whale.
Yeah?
You should have seen this.
Well, let me tell you about my trip.
Dial 10-10-321 and talk as long as you want, whenever you want.
Today, they're the movers, the up-and-comers in business, rising stars behind the dynamic companies of today. See how these young talents make an impact as they rise to the top. Movers with Jan Hopkins, today, 3:30 Eastern on CNN.
Entertainment Weekly gives it an A. Time calls it a stunning live-action version, and TV Guide rates startlingly realistic. Animal Farm, a major television event. See it tonight at 10, only on TNT.
Log on to CNN.com.
More than just breaking news.
It's information you can use.
Planning a trip?
Get there with the lowest fare.
It's easy.
Book your flight, hotel,
And even get driving directions.
where to eat, shop,
And play. CNN.com.
4-day weather forecast.
Where you are and where you're going.
Thousands of cities worldwide.
Just choose a destination
and go.
Get it all at CNN.com.
I'm watching you, CNN.
Our coverage of the Southern California earthquake continues. The epicenter was 130 miles east of Los Angeles, close to Joshua Tree. CNN's Siobhan Darrow is nearby in 29 Palms, California. Siobhan?
Well, Gene, Hector did little more than shake things off shelves and rattle people's nerves here in 29 Palms, which is a small community, about 15,000 people, about 30 miles from the epicenter. Many of the residents we've spoken to here are pretty stoic. They're used to earthquakes. They know what to expect. They know what to do. So when they were jolted out of bed, they were startled for a bit. A lot of them lost power for a couple of hours. But more than anything, they were surprised that there wasn't a lot more damage. Now, behind me, we're in the middle of the main shopping center here. There's a supermarket that lots of stuff was thrown off the shelves, and there was a little damage to the front of the store. They're busily trying to clean it up and get the store operating and open again because it's the main shop here in town. En route here, we stopped in a place called Joshua Tree, and we went to a supermarket liquor store there. We saw a bit of damage to lots of stuff off the shelves, thrown onto the floor. The employees were in busily sweeping everything up. The owner there told us that he lost probably thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. He lost maybe half of his liquor stock. Back here in 29 Palms, we've been into the video shop here. The video shop had a lot of their tapes were on the floor. They busily put those all back on the shelves. A number of other shops here where they had some minor damage. We caught up with one shop owner who owns a toy store. Her name is Toy Luke, and she's going to tell us about her experience with the earthquake. First of all, Toy, can you tell us how it woke you up, what you were thinking?
I fell asleep on the couch because I was waiting for my kids to come back from the football game. And when I woke up, everything was just shaking. I could hear my daughter screaming. She was standing at the doorway, and I could hear my husband and my other kids crying.
And what did you do?
I just kind of sat there. At first I thought, well, you know, everything is shaking, and I didn't know what was happening. But my other daughter says, I knew exactly what was happening. It was an earthquake. But for me, I could kind of panic, and for a minute I didn't know what to do. I just was kind of stuck there on the couch.
And did you have any damage, anything thrown off the shelves in your home?
A lot of books from my bookshelves were thrown. I could hear my dishes rattling and everything, but they were pretty much secure. So I was mainly concerned about my kids because some are on one side of the house and the other side of the house. And so, you know, and when you're thinking, you really you don't know where to go.
Now, were you surprised when you actually got up and sort of assessed the damage that things were as relatively damage-free as they were?
Yeah, I was very surprised that not that much damage was in my home, but the next thought was the store, was how much damage. And then my sister called, my partner called, and I said, you know, what about the store? So her and her husband came down with her 2 kids. I had more kids, and one of them was sick, so I decided to stay home with the kids.
Now, when I caught up with you, you were vacuuming in the shop, and things looked like they were in pretty good order. How did they look when you got down there?
It was a mess. We had a lot of broken glasses, vases, a lot of lava lights were on the ground, a lot of the toys. It was funny because last night we were stocking, putting things up, and this morning everything was down on the floor again. We were kind of glad it wasn't during the day because usually our lava lights are on and they're hot. So if it was during the day, somebody would have really gotten hurt. So.
And how did this earthquake compare to the last one in '92 that I believe you were also here for?
To me, it seemed worse. The house was shaking a lot. That one, I just kind of didn't know was the second one. There were smaller ones, and so I wasn't as afraid as this one. There were a lot of aftershocks, so I was just waiting for the really, really big one to hit. So I was glad that there wasn't that much damage.
Okay, thank you, Toy Luke, who owns a toy store here in the shopping center. Again, a lot of surprise among the residents that there wasn't just a lot more damage from this quake because of the duration and the strength of the quake. Back to you, Gene. I'm Siobhan Dara reporting live in 29 Palms.
Thank you, Siobhan. This has been a year of the earthquake worldwide. Turkey, Taiwan, Costa Rica, and now Southern California are among the areas that have been hit. CNN's Rick Lockridge has a report on what may be at work.
The tremors of our creaky old Earth, set to music. What you're hearing and seeing is just 1 year's worth of earthquakes. The high notes represent minor to moderate quakes, magnitude 4 and 5 on the Richter scale. The bass notes are 6s and 7s.
If you consider 5.0 and bigger, it's about 1,000 per year.
So if you're going to call me and ask me when that earthquake was I heard about last month, you're going to have to be kind of specific. So this is the arrival of the first P wave.
Jim Buckley uploads the readings from his seismographs at Atlanta's Fernbank Science Center to the Internet, where scientists and students worldwide now work to pinpoint the epicenters and magnitudes of earthquakes far faster than before.
I can remember the epicenter reports coming out 6 months after an earthquake, and we would say, wow, the epicenters are here. And now today we get it within, I would say usually within an hour.
How often is this needle on the move? Great earthquakes, magnitude 8 and above, occur once a year worldwide on average. Major quakes in the 7s, 18 a year. Strong quakes in the 6s, 10 a month. Moderate quakes in the 5s, more than 2 a day. Add it all up and it's a tectonic concerto. 80% of all earthquakes occur in the so-called Ring of Fire, under the Pacific Ocean, and including California's famously fragile fault lines, such as the one that gave way early this morning. Rick Lockridge, CNN.
What if you could treat wrinkles like an expert would? With Rock, the #1 anti-wrinkle cream in France, you can. Developed with dermatologists, Rock's pure and active form of vitamin A works deeper inside skin surface. In a 12-week study, the appearance of fine lines was reduced by 86%, wrinkles by 42%. Something more superficial beauty treatments could never promise. Rock, we keep our promises.
When was the last time someone remembered your name, your preference for wine, or that you like your sea bass blackened and your prime rib rare? When was the last time the only difficult choice was steel drums or string quartet? And when was the last time you celebrated all night just because it's Tuesday? Holland America, it's time.
Years before America's electric cooperatives forged the nationwide alliance, Touchstone Energy, neighbors built their own electric utility to power lives and communities. Now Touchstone Energy cooperatives serve millions of homes and businesses. Customers large and small get state-of-the-art technology and affordable service. From the one-room schoolhouse to the communities and businesses of tomorrow, trust Touchstone Energy, the power of human connections. We are America's electric cooperatives.
Millennium, CNN's groundbreaking television series. 1,000 years in 10 entertaining hours. A dazzling TV landmark. An engrossing and imposing television event. The series is remarkable. Millennium, Sundays, 10 Eastern on CNN.
Joyce, is the server down?
No, it's working just
fine. Are you sure?
I don't believe this. What is going on out there? If you want to meet the players driving the internet economy, there's only one event. Comdex. It's where the .com world is going. When planning your next vacation, call the expert, your AAA travel agent. We'll send you on a cruise of uncompromising indulgence aboard Holland America Line, where right now 7-day cruises start at this great low price. AAA also offers members exclusive extras on many Holland America Line cruises. For details, call 1-800-374-1106.
Travel with someone you trust.
AAA Travel Services.
The forces of nature make up our top stories this hour. Parts of Southern California were shaken before dawn today by a magnitude 7.0 earthquake. It was centered at Hector Mines near Joshua Tree, 130 miles east of Los Angeles. A highway buckled between Barstow and Joshua Tree. 4 people were hospitalized after a Los Angeles-bound Amtrak train derailed near Ludlow, California. Heavy rain and flooding, the problem in southeastern Florida, where Hurricane Irene is making its mark. At least 6 deaths are reported. 5 people were electrocuted by downed power lines. Tens of thousands of homes are without electricity. Irene is headed for the Carolinas, packing winds of 70 miles an hour. And Orland Sidney is at the CNN Weather Center with the latest.
Well, thank you, Gene. The very latest is that we have hurricane warnings in effect from Modesto Beach, South Carolina, northward to Surf City, North Carolina. And what you will notice in this hurricane warning area is that some of the coastal areas are already starting to see some rain and thunderstorms move in. Remember, hurricane warning means that you could see hurricane conditions within the next 24 hours. That's what we're expecting. And that is definitely the situation as we head up through the Carolina coast, unfortunately. Head a little bit further to the north, hurricane watch in effect from Surf City up to Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. That means hurricane conditions are possible within the next 36 hours. Here's the forecast map that shows the big picture of what's happening across the nation. Here's a big player in the track of this hurricane. Irene is still off the coast of Florida right now, expected to kind of move very slowly up to the north as this storm system comes in from the west. It does look like as it gets a little bit closer in towards northern portions of South Carolina and along the North Carolina coast, it'll become more under the influence of this frontal system and then probably start to arc off to the northeast, somewhere around Cape Hatteras, perhaps up towards the Chesapeake Bay. But remember, those are just the latest predictions. Things are certainly subject to change as we go through the next couple of days, so we'll certainly keep an eye on this. There is some good news. If you're in places like Dallas, Texas, you're going to see a cold front pass through, and that's going to mean some cool temperatures for you. Maybe some rainfall there, but look for 5 inches plus across parts of the southeast, but a nice temperature drop behind that cold front as it moves offshore. So finally, some good news today. If you're in Dallas, a high today of 90 degrees, you'll be down to 70 by tomorrow. Gene?
Thanks, Orland. That is all for this special edition of CNN Saturday. I'm Gene Randall in Atlanta. After the break, the latest on the California earthquake and Hurricane Irene. See you then.
So, Butterfield, what do you think about the new CEO?
Well, sir, he's a good man. The job he did over at President Incorporated was really, really good. With emerging, yeah, remember? And that spin-off thing.
When you're not informed, it shows. Hoover's Online. Know thy stuff.
Join authors Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Bill Moyers, Dominic Dunn, and Senator John McCain tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Pay-per-view.
Stick it.
Oh, I thought I'd never see this. It is decision time.
Presents WCW's Halloween Havoc.
Sponsored by Rock 101, KUFO, Portland's Rock Authority, and ABCs of Travel and Cruises. Call 224-3246 for your travel plans.
Did you buy from Bob?
No.
With advantages like these, to not buy from Bob could be considered a sin.
Just buy Bob.
In the dark of the night, when the Headless Horseman arrives, you can be there. Odyssey is sending 5 families to the real Sleepy Hollow to visit the story's original site and be guest of honor for a special Legend Weekend or win other great prizes. Send in your name, address, birth date, and phone number or enter online. You must be 18 or older to enter the Sleepy Hollow sweepstakes and experience a legend come to life. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow premieres Saturday, October 23rd, only on Odyssey.
The stories of those who wouldn't give up and wouldn't give in. The builders, creators, and dictators. Those who dared to explore and to imagine the triumph and tragedy of 1,000 years of history. Millennium, a television event. Sundays on CNN.
CNN Today with Lou Waters and Natalie Allen. Weekdays on CNN.
A powerful earthquake shakes Southern California. It was a near miss. And Hurricane Irene moves up the East Coast, and the greatest damage may lie ahead. It's 1 p.m. on the East Coast, 10 a.m. in the West. Today is Saturday, October 16th from Atlanta. This is CNN Saturday. I'm Gene Randall. A 7.0 earthquake hit Southern California this morning. Damage is slight. No serious injuries have been reported. The quake struck just before 3 a.m. Pacific time near the town of Hector Mines, southeast of Barstow in Joshua Tree National Park. The most serious results so far reported, the derailment of an Amtrak train in the Mojave Desert. The Associated Press reports 4 passengers suffered minor injuries. We turn now to CNN's Jim Moret in Los Angeles, where the story now is one of aftershocks. Jim?
Aftershocks and aftermath, and frankly, it was a situation where nerves were rattled beyond anything else. Rattled from Southern California to Nevada to Arizona. Nearby, just south of Los Angeles, about 30 miles away, the Disneyland Hotel, some 150 guests were evacuated from that hotel when cosmetic damage was noticed on the building. Once building officials came in, gave the okay, those folks were able to go back inside. There were, however, a number of power outages. Southern California Edison reports some 80,000 customers were affected. There was arcing of power lines. Transformers exploded in Orange County, California. The tape you see is in Garden Grove. Southern California Edison estimates that some 8 to 9,000 people are still without power. The significance of this earthquake, beyond the fact that it was a 7.0, a potentially serious earthquake, because of its location in a remote area of the desert, caused relatively little damage. As a matter of fact, no structural damage has been reported, and so far, no serious injuries have been reported. There were, however, rattled nerves, as I suggested. As one who's grown up in Southern California, my first instinct was to jump out of bed. I ran to my 2-year-old's bedroom, brought my son back into bed with us. However, it seemed like a minor earthquake. That compared with the Northridge earthquake, which caused some $20 billion in damage and 57 lives. Now, the most significant impact was near Ludlow, California. That was the site of an Amtrak derailment. CNN's Jim Hill is there live. Jim?
Well, Jim, I'm in the Mojave Desert between Barstow and Needles, California, not too far from the very small community, as you say, of Ludlow. The train you see behind me here, the Amtrak Southwest Chief, derailed at about 2:45 local time this morning, the exact moment that the earthquake struck. I'm told this is a rather unusual development for a moving train to be derailed by an earthquake. Nonetheless, that is what happened. 155 people were on board the train. 4 of those people, all of them passengers, received minor injuries. They have been treated at Barstow Community Hospital. The other passengers had to stay on the train for close to 6 hours, waiting to be downloaded and then put on buses for a continued journey on to Los Angeles. Now, officials say this accident could have been much, much worse. This section of track is very straight in a remote area. The Amtrak train is authorized to go 90 miles an hour through this area. However, this morning when the earthquake struck, luckily the train was only going 60 miles an hour. That's because a slower moving freight train was up several miles ahead of it. That slower speed is almost certainly the reason that although the train did derail, the passenger cars remained in an upright position, did not tip over, and that probably saved a lot of passengers from serious injury. I'd like to talk a little bit more about this now with San Bernardino County Fire Department's Gary Bush. Gary, this was fortunate in some respects.
Absolutely. As you mentioned earlier, with the number of passengers that we had on the train, this could have very well been a disaster. But because the train was moving slower, there were no overturned cars. When we arrived and assessed all the passengers and crew, we had very few injuries.
Now, the people were coming to Los Angeles from the Chicago area, I understand it. What about loved ones who may be concerned about them?
Yes, Amtrak has provided a number that I'll share in just a moment that folks can call to find out exactly how their relatives or loved ones are doing. They have been transferred to buses and are en route now to Los Angeles. You'll see some of the buses coming behind us here shortly. That number for everyone is 1-800-683-4114. I'll repeat that one more time. 1-800-683-4114. And operators staffed by Amtrak are going to man those telephones to give that information.
Okay, thanks very much. That is Gary Bush with the San Bernardino County Fire Department. One final note, we're told that officials have ordered all train traffic throughout California to be temporarily stopped. That's so that tracks within about, a several hundred-mile radius of the epicenter of the earthquake can be checked to make sure that they are not damaged. And of course, the epicenter is in an area called Hector Mine, which is about 40 miles, I understand, from the small community of 29 Palms, California, also here in the Mojave Desert. I'm Jim Hill reporting live near Ludlow, California. Back to you.
Thank you, Jim. With any earthquake, you can expect a rash of aftershocks. Seismologists tell us we've already been experiencing that. As a matter of fact, we've had 15 aftershocks greater than 4.0, 2 greater than 5. The greatest aftershock so far is 5.8. Marta Waller from CNN affiliate KTLA is at Caltech and has more. Marta?
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Southern California did get quite a wake-up call this morning at 2:46. The magnitude 7 tremor was really, it was quite an earthquake. You know, when you first woke up, it was kind of a rolling feeling in the foothill areas of Pasadena where I live, and yet people out in the desert apparently had a very, very harsh wake-up call this morning. One of the things that we've learned from the seismologists out here at Caltech is that they have identified a possible fault. It is called the Pisqua Fault. It is in the general vicinity of 29 Palms, Barstow, Ludlow. We're going to show you a picture of that in just 1 second. And this is a fault that runs about 50 miles, so it's plenty large enough to have generated a magnitude 7 earthquake on its own, although there could be some other faults involved. Now, this is just a preliminary identification of the fault. This shows you basically the area, and this is their rapid instrumental intensity map, and that shows you they have it's like GPS, and they have this out there, and these different colors show you, the star shows you the epicenter. You can see where the really severe and extreme shaking is, and then as it gets yellow to green, it goes from moderate and heavy to moderate and then to light. So you can see that this was felt over a very, very large area, and fortunately, the area of 29 Palms is very sparsely populated. There aren't high-rises out there, so this magnitude 7 earthquake, which would have been devastating had it been under downtown Los Angeles, was not nearly as bad as it could have been. One of the things the geologists and seismologists are doing now that it's daybreak is they are going out to the 29 Palms area and the area where the train derailed so that they can take a look at the ground and see what they can come up with. But we've had lots of aftershocks and expect many more, but things are actually in pretty good shape out here. Jim?
Marta, it's clearly difficult for seismologists to map all of the faults in and around Southern California. Was this, frankly, an area that caught them off guard, took them by surprise?
No, not really. This is the same vicinity as the Landers earthquake of 1992, and it's a very seismically active area, and there are a lot of faults out there that they have identified. They're faults with which they are familiar. They aren't all named. This Pisqua fault happens to be one that does have a name, and even though they haven't said for sure that this is the fault, they think that there's a very strong possibility this may be the one.
Marta Waller from CNN affiliate KTLA here in Los Angeles. 29 Palms is one of the communities closest to the epicenter. It's only 30 miles away from the epicenter of this 7.0 earthquake early this morning. CNN's Siobhan Darrow is there. Siobhan.
Well, Jim, Hector certainly caused a lot of shaking and rattling and scared people here at 29 Palms, which is in fact about 100 miles east of Los Angeles. But what surprised people most was the fact that there was so little damage. People here are pretty stoic. Their residents are used to earthquakes. Mostly after the initial shock, people shrugged their shoulders and got out their brooms and started sweeping up what little mess there was. We're in the main shopping area here in 29 Palms. Behind me, there's a supermarket that's been closed off all morning. A lot of the stuff was off the shelves. There was some minor damage that's in the front of the shop that they're quickly trying to repair because this is the main place to buy food in town. Now, en route here, we stopped at a town called Joshua, And there we went into a liquor food market as well. Everything was off the shelves. Half the liquor stock at least was lost, according to the owner. He says he's going to lose thousands of dollars of stock, bottles of vinegar, bottles of Worcestershire sauce. All the employees were in sweeping up the mess. We also spoke to people at the Joshua Tree Inn, where we ran into some very startled overseas visitors, as well as speaking to the manager there about how he handled his guests.
It was pretty chaotic. I wasn't sleeping at the time. I was awake, and I was just messing with some music on my computer, and I heard the initial boom, which I guess, I don't know the mechanics of earthquakes, but I think the sound waves travel through the air faster than they do through the ground. So anyway, I heard that, and I knew right away that it was an earthquake.
We woke up at about 10 to 3 this morning, and everything was rumbling and shaking a bit. And then it suddenly got more intense. And I turned to my wife and said, "This is an earthquake." And she didn't say anything at that point. It was very frightening, in fact.
So for most of the people here, while in fact this earthquake was felt as far away as Las Vegas and in Phoenix, near the Mexican border as well, here, very close to the epicenter, things are quiet and calm. Most of the mess seems to be just about cleared up, and things are getting back to normal. Back to you, Jim.
CNN Siobhan Darrow reporting live from 29 Palms. At 7.0, this earthquake was potentially devastating. Seismologists credit the location of its epicenter, some 130 miles outside of Los Angeles in a remote desert area, with yielding relatively minor structural damage, if any, and no serious injuries reported. I'm Jim Moray, CNN Los Angeles. Gene Randall, back to you in Atlanta.
Thank you, Jim. During the shaking today in Las Vegas, 275 miles east of Los Angeles, at casinos, even the gambling stopped.
We're at New York, and all the crap signs started shaking, and all the bushes on top started swerving and moving around, and everybody just stopped what they were doing for a second, and then kept playing.
No screaming, no yelling?
No.
They just kept on playing?
Kept on playing.
So you've been in earthquakes before, right?
Yeah.
So how did this feel in comparison to other ones?
It was a little bit weaker than all the ones we're used to in LA. Really? Like the Whittier one and all that. Yeah, it was no big deal. I called home and they slept through it.
Okay, I'm going to talk over here to Brian.
That's Brian.
Hey, Brian, what did you feel and what did you think?
So rolling like this. Like that. It's like that. That's almost fell.
Really?
Yeah.
So did anybody else freak out around?
Everybody just stopped and like, whoa. No one's used to it, so like, looking around. Okay. All right, that's cool. And they start playing again.
And when the shaking stopped, the gambling resumed. How does this day's quake compare to others? It registered 7.0, about equal to the San Francisco quake that hit 10 years ago tomorrow, much less severe than the San Francisco quake of 1906. Overseas, recent quakes that were more powerful and closer to urban centers killed thousands in Taiwan and Turkey. People in the Carolinas are hoping for the best, but once again bracing for the worst as Hurricane Irene heads their way. We'll be back in a moment.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. The first step to smarter investing is hoarding every penny, cutting up all your credit cards, seeing a financial consultant. Invest for the long term. Invest with discipline. AIM Mutual Funds.
When was the last time you were serenaded off the coast of Italy? When was the last time you discovered European hill towns, grand capitals, and country after country, unpacking only once? And when was the last time you understood what Europeans call the sweetness of living every day? Holland America, it's time.
I'm on an all-night flight when suddenly, terrible heartburn. The guy in the next seat says, "Here, try this, Zantac 75. Thanks, I say. You know, maybe I ought to see a doctor about this heartburn. He says, you just did.
The medicine in Zantac 75 is the #1 doctor-prescribed acid reducer. It relieves even your toughest heartburn, controlling acid for up to 12 hours.
Thanks, doctor, wherever you are.
Zantac 75 for tough heartburn. Doctors know.
At BASF, we don't make the golf clubs. We make them more powerful. We don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
Tonight, on the Emmy Award-winning Larry King Weekend, I'll talk to authors Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Bill Moyers, Dominic Dunn, and Senator John McCain. They'll all discuss their latest books tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. You've got a long retirement ahead. You should learn to live on $100 a week. Move in with your kids. Take a swim. Have peace of mind. Call your financial consultant about AIM mutual funds.
Sunday on CNN's Late Edition, the last word in Sunday Talk, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. I'm Wolf Blitzer. We'll ask Secretary Albright about the military coup in Pakistan, the nuclear test ban treaty, and more. Sunday, noon Eastern on CNN.
Hurricane Irene is expected to make a second landfall tomorrow near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or Wilmington, North Carolina. The storm killed 5 people in South Florida, where it came ashore yesterday. All were electrocuted by downed power lines. The National Hurricane Center in Miami lost power and switched to backup generators. With Irene out of the picture in South Florida, it is time for cleaning up. For the latest on that, we turn to CNN's Susan Candiato near Fort Lauderdale. Susan?
Hello, Gene. It was a bruising night for South Florida, socked by up to 20 inches of rain. As Hurricane Irene crossed the Florida Everglades, for example, it dumped sheets of rain. Tropical storm force winds also forced many vehicles to pull off roads, including Alligator Alley, a main thoroughfare that connects Florida's east and west coast. 600,000 customers of Florida Power and Light remain in the dark. Florida Governor Jeb Bush says that flooding remains a major problem in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. He is sending out damage assessment teams as we speak to figure out how much financial help areas like this one will need. Here you can see, of course, that the water is now receding. Now, residents such as Ellie Davis, who lives in this very neighborhood, are in the process of mopping up. Her home got up to 8 inches of rain, which seeped into her home, which is located next to a canal. She said going through the storm was scary.
I think there was. Around midnight, 1 o'clock, I get panicked, and we lost the power for about 20 minutes at 11, which is lucky, you know. But I think I was frightened because I thought, I can't see the street, I can't get my car out, I can't... If I had to get out, I couldn't get out. You know, it would have to be a rescue in there or whatever, because there was just no way. It was like living on an island. And I had no way to get rid of the water. I mean, as much as I'm trying to vacuum, there was no way to dump it.
6 deaths are blamed on Hurricane Irene, including a 35-year-old man who drove his car into a canal overnight. And the tragic case, all of them being tragic, of course, involving 5 people who were electrocuted by downed power lines. In one of those instances, 3 boys were out for a walk overnight. They were walking, police said, in foot-deep water. They did not notice some downed power lines and were electrocuted. When a mother went in to help, she was also killed. Susan Candiati, CNN reporting live in Oakland Park, Florida.
Where is Irene headed next? Here is Orlin Sidney. Orlin?
Well, it looks like she is headed up the coast, Gene. As a matter of fact, we're going to keep our eyes, as you said, on around the Myrtle Beach area up towards Wilmington as we go into tomorrow. Notice the center of the storm becoming very well defined here. We're actually starting to see a quite well-defined eye, which is kind of unusual for a particularly weak storm. This is a minor hurricane. The main thing we're going to be worrying about, of course, is the rain. That's sneaking up on you in places like Apalachicola, also up towards almost Augusta, and then continuing, of course, along the Carolina coast. This is the rainfall amounts, some of the rainfall amounts that I've seen from the storm totals going Thursday into this morning. 17.45 inches at Boynton Beach, Florida. Homestead got 14 57/100ths, and the Everglades US 27 picked up over 10 inches of rain, and there is more of it to come. We're looking for another update here in about 45 minutes from the National Hurricane Center. The latest update shows the winds at 80 miles an hour, the storm moving to the north at about 8 miles an hour. At the time this observation was taken, it was about 40 miles east-southeast of Cape Canaveral, which was reporting wind gusts last hour of 53 miles an hour. So those are definitely tropical storm force wind gusts. Could see up to 5 inches, maybe more, across parts of Florida, then continuing along the Georgia coast into the Carolinas. Remember that you have a hurricane warning in effect from Modesto Beach, South Carolina, northward to Surf City, North Carolina. That means you can expect hurricane conditions within the next 24 hours. Gene?
Thanks, Orlin. Travel in and out of South Florida has been tough today. Most airlines shut down service, jamming terminals with frustrated passengers. Cancellations were reported in Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. In Miami, the airport was closed for more than 3 hours. We'll be back in a moment.
talk louder and say exactly what I feel and whistle at all the cute boys in their pickups.
Son? Yeah, Dad? Your mom and I want to retire, but, you know, we never saved any money. That's where you come in.
Huh?
What grade are you in now? Second? Third?
Third.
That's plenty of school. Time you got a job.
But I can't multiply yet.
Well, I wouldn't let that slip out in an interview. Besides, you can read, right? Well, read this. The classifieds. Go get them, Tiger.
Don't be caught unprepared. Ask your financial advisor about the funds of Alliance Capital, the investment professional's choice. Do it now, because later is sooner than you think.
The U.S. Postal Service, with new automated systems from Lockheed Martin, is speeding the delivery of billions of pieces of mail. And the occasional birthday present from Uncle Will. Interestingly, Lockheed Martin is also building America's next generation of fighter planes. Which means we not only help deliver the present, but the future.
Sunday, say goodbye to lumpy beds and tiny TVs. This overnight oasis is catering to dreamlike nights. Plus, he's a uniform guy with unconventional ideas. Business Unusual, defining the new economy, 6:30 Eastern on CNN. If you missed the Moneyline News Hour this week, you missed one of the fiercest fighters in the tobacco war make a stunning announcement. And Colt Cutback, why one gun went up in smoke. Join Stuart Varney and Willow Bay, weeknight 6:30 Eastern, only on CNN.
I'm watching you, CNN.
An earthquake centered 130 miles east of Los Angeles shook thousands of people awake early this morning. The magnitude 7 quake was powerful but struck the sparsely populated Mojave Desert. It fell on the eve of the 10th anniversary of the 1989 San Francisco quake. That disaster killed 63 people and did billions of dollars in damages. Only minor damage and injuries have been reported in Southern California today. For more on the quake, we're joined on the phone by Joe Zarkey with the Joshua Tree National Forest. Mr. Zarkey, tell us about the conditions you have seen there.
Well, basically, we're pretty lucky. You know, the quake did hit early in the morning. It was quite strong. However, the damage has been very, very minor throughout the region. In the park, we're totally open. There were no visitor injuries of any kind. All our facilities appear to be functioning normally. Power systems are on, water's on, no problems there. We did have a couple bookshelves knocked over in offices, a couple computers turned over, things like that, but really quite minor damage given the magnitude of the quake.
And are you feeling aftershocks?
I haven't felt one here in a couple of hours. There was a very strong one at 6 a.m. this morning that was actually 15 miles further south of the original epicenter, according to Caltech, much closer to where I'm talking to you from. And we felt that quite a bit. It lasted for maybe 20, 30 seconds.
Can you tell us exactly what you felt at 2:46 this morning Pacific time?
We've seen earthquakes here before, and so when the house started shaking, I was home in bed. I knew right away it was an earthquake. And my wife and I started to get out of bed. I just kind of actually sat on the floor for a few seconds and sort of wrote it out. It lasted, seemed like maybe somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute. And I knew it was a strong one. I thought it might have been around a 6, but that was probably because it was actually 30 miles north of where we were.
Would you say there is a certain fatalism, a certain stoicism about earthquakes there?
We do see them pretty often around here, and I think people just know basically what to do for the most part. Luckily, the buildings out here seem to be built quite well, so you know, the structural damage was almost negligible. I've not heard of any buildings that have actually been physically damaged in the communities that right around here.
Mr. Zarkey, thanks very much, and glad it wasn't any worse than it was. And now we'll look at some other news in our CNN Saturday Notebook. A 3-alarm fire broke out overnight in the hills above Berkeley, California. Firefighters were able to get the grass fire under control. The blaze was in the same area where a deadly Oakland Hills fire started in 1991. A 12-year-old girl was killed. Several others were injured in a hayride accident late yesterday in Missouri. The wagon was loaded with Girl Scouts when it suddenly rolled out of control down a hill and crashed into trees. About 20 other girls were injured, 3 of them seriously. The driver of the tractor pulling the wagon told police his vehicle suddenly slipped out of gear. Pro-Jakarta militiamen say they will not give up East Timor without a fight. In a skirmish early today, UN peacekeepers killed 3 militiamen. Such incidents could become more common if the militiamen hold to their pledge to retake the province for Indonesia. About 8,000 Australian-led peacekeepers are in East Timor. We'll be back in just a moment.
At Superior Bank, we help homeowners. That's what we do. And we've been busy helping homeowners in all kinds of credit and income situations for over 75 years. Consolidating your high-interest credit card debt. Reducing the number of your monthly payments to just 1. And getting you the cash you need when you need it. Working with you. Simply, easily, and honestly. That's Superior Bank at 1-888-678-7777.
I've always been set in my ways. So when Subaru told me they were changing my Outback, I was a tad concerned. Truth is, they just made it better. This next generation Outback's got a stylish new body, quieter ride, and their best all-wheel driving system ever. Sort of inspired me to make a few changes. I think this works. The new Outback, the world's first sport utility wagon from Subaru.
American Century's Income and Growth Fund has outperformed its Lipper peer average.
Every single year since 1990. That's one nice track record.
Call 1-888-ACI-FUNDS or your investment professional.
Flexible metal frame. Flex-On by Marchon.
Once again, a check on the weather, and here is Orland Sydney. Orland?
Gene, thanks a lot. Busy afternoon, I think, for you in the eastern United States. From Modesto Beach, South Carolina to Surf City, North Carolina, you should be preparing for hurricane conditions as a hurricane warning is in effect for that area. Some of the outer rain bands, again, from Hurricane Irene are already impacting the coast of the Carolinas. And it looks like you may see some of these showers around Brunswick, Georgia. Definitely seeing some rain in the last hourly report out of Jacksonville, Florida. So something to worry about here. Head a little bit further to the north from Cape Hatteras down to Surf City. You've got a hurricane watch in effect. That gives you about 12 more hours of preparation time, give or take. That means you could see hurricane conditions within the next 36 hours. This is what we're looking at as far as current watches and warnings other than of the hurricane type. We have flash flood watches in effect for southern portions of Georgia and down the coast of Florida to Vero Beach. Also high wind watches inland from the coast. That affects places like Orlando and the northern shore of Lake Okeechobee. Definitely don't want to be out on the lake for today. Here's the cold front that's a big player in the track of our storm. It looks like this cold front's going to be coming in from the west and start to take the storm and move it out to sea about the 36-hour time frame from now. So up towards Cape Hatteras to around the Chesapeake Bay, that's when we start to think that the storm system may start arcing off to the northeast. If it does not, of course, you will see more rainfall along the coast. If it does, perhaps sooner rather than later, that may limit the rainfall amounts across the area. But that's still going to be a problem with up to 5 inches of rain, at least today, up the coast of Florida and then continuing into the Carolinas. Behind this, it's going to be some very nice weather by tomorrow. Today, though, there's quite a bit of heavy snow. Snow advisories are in effect all the way from parts of Wyoming southward down into northern portions of New Mexico. So you've got your own problems there if you're going to be traveling today. Gene?
Thanks, Roland. After a break, our top stories, then Science and Technology Week. And Kellen has a preview.
Today on CNN's Evans, Novak, Hunt and Shields, Tennessee Senator Fred Thompson. Today, 5:30 Eastern on CNN.
I opened my eyes to the facts, and now I have the power. How am I fighting breast cancer? I will get yearly mammograms when I'm over 40. I do get regular checkups with a doctor because I'm over 20, and I'm doing breast self-exams every month. I know my body. I know my breasts. Get the facts, seize the power. It's time to open your eyes. I'm joining Lifetime in the fight against breast cancer.
Sponsored by Legacy Women's Services.
CNN Today with Lou Waters and Natalie Allen. Weekdays on CNN. I'm Gene Randall in Washington. Ahead on Science and Technology Week, a look at sharing home videos on the internet. But first, some news headlines. Damage is minimal and only minor injuries have been reported following a large earthquake this morning in Southern California. The epicenter of the 7.0 quake was in Joshua Tree National Park near the town of Hector Mines, southeast of Barstow. The quake caused an Amtrak train to jump the tracks in the Mojave Desert. 4 people were slightly hurt. 155 passengers and 16 crew members were aboard the Chicago to Los Angeles train at the time. In Los Angeles, there were power outages. Utility workers are working to restore electricity for about 8,000 customers. Near the harbor, a storage tank leaked about 2,000 gallons of naphtha, an industrial solvent. That spill was contained. On the other side of the country, in the Carolinas, people are getting ready for Hurricane Irene. A mandatory evacuation is in force for the Cape Lookout National Seashore. Irene already has killed a half-dozen people in Florida. Hundreds of thousands went without power. Even the National Hurricane Center in Miami briefly lost power before turning on backup generators. I'm Gene Randall. More news at the top of the hour. Now Science and Technology Week.